Hello and welcome back. We're picking up again in our study of Luke chapter 12, and this week we're going to look at the parable that Jesus tells. Now, before we get into the parable, I want to just remind you of something, back up a little bit. I talked about it a few videos ago, in that what Jesus is doing here is he's addressing a very dangerous idea, an idea that's very natural to us, an idea that we just kind of fall into by default. And I would say an idea that's particularly prominent in our world today in America. I don't think we've ever experienced a time ever where we have experienced such a degree of wealth and comfort. I was telling one of my kids the other day that most people throughout the world, throughout world history, if they could somehow see a video of how we live in America, they would say these are extremely, extravagantly, lavishly wealthy people. And so this is unprecedented. And so I think we as Americans are very susceptible to this belief. And here it is. It's as old as life itself, but Jesus says it this way. He says, "Take care and be on your guard against all covetousness." And then he gives the ground or the reason for that. "For one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions." And that's the dangerous idea. It's believing that our lives consist of the abundance of our possessions, that if we surround ourselves with enough stuff, enough money, retirement, whatever it may be, success, that will give us a good life, and it'll give us a safe life. We will be safe and secure. And I want you to see that what Jesus is doing here in this parable is he's telling you a parable to just blow that idea right out of the water. He's telling you this parable to use a story, because stories are very powerful, to show you how dangerous that idea is, how bankrupt it is, how futile and how fragile your life is when you build it on your possessions. And so Jesus tells a story. He told them a parable saying, and I'm going to read it to you and then make a couple comments about it. "The land of a rich man produced plentifully, and he thought to himself, 'What shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops.' And he said, 'I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry.' But God said to him, 'Fool, this night your soul will be required of you. And the things that you have prepared, whose will they be? So is the one who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God.'" Now, I want you to get the main idea of that parable that Jesus told. It's about a man he's successful. Nothing wrong with that. He finds himself with a lot of abundance in his crops. He's blessed. And so he begins to think, well, how can I take advantage of this? And so he tears down his barns, decides to tear down his barns and build bigger barns to store it all up. And essentially, at this point, there's not, technically anything wrong with that. Nothing wrong with, being industrious, nothing wrong with prospering in that way, nothing wrong with being responsible and storing up and saving, and all those things are not in and of themselves wrong. But what you're seeing here is a man who makes no reference to God in his life at all. There's no gratitude, there's no mention of giving here. There's all you see is me, I, myself. And the real big problem here that Jesus is getting at is that this man sees these things as the things that will make him safe, secure. Listen to what he says again. He said, "I will say to my soul, Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry." In other words, you're safe. All of this stuff that you have right now, all these possessions, they're going to make you secure. They're going to do the thing that only God can do. They're going to make it so that your life is going to be easy. You can relax, you can eat, you can drink, you can be merry. They're going to make you happy. See, what these things are doing, they're promising things that only God can give, ultimately. And so it shouldn't surprise us that when this man falls, he loses everything. And the Bible actually calls him, Jesus actually calls him a fool. Not a silly person, but somebody who doesn't think rightly about the world and doesn't account for God in the world. And that's what this man has done. And so he's looked to his possessions, he's looked to all these things to make him safe and secure. Now, I said last week that I asked the question, is it possible that God is using the circumstances with the coronavirus and everything that's going on just to gently reach in and shake us and shake the things that we're standing on? Well, he does that. That's exactly what he's doing in this parable. Your life does not consist of the abundance of your possessions. It's a very dangerous idea. It is an idea that leads to fear, to instability. It's a very fragile thing to build your life on. And what Jesus is doing right now in this parable is he's showing you that God can reach in and shake those things. He's giving you a story to tell you, don't rest your life on these things. Don't build your life on these things. Build your life on me. Thank you.